Hi, my name is Emily Laureano Matos. I am a parentified child. You may not know what it is. I didn't either when I started my research. I did know from the start at a young age. I had a lot of responsibility, mostly taking care of my two younger brothers. This became my normal. As I got older, I wondered why I had to be the parent as 18. I wonder if other people grow up like I did. Here are some of the interviews that helped me connect with the idea of parentification. Can you tell us what parentification is?
Parentification is when a child or an adolescent is given responsibilities that a parent would normally have. So as a result, a kid could be asked to take care of the younger siblings and make dinner and put everybody to bed so that mom and dad can go to work. And what happens often is that it takes away time that kid or adolescent would be playing or doing things to figure out who they are. So then when they get older, they might not have as much of an idea of who they are and what their interests are, and sometimes they feel like they're missing their childhood in a way.
How does this affect children?
What I've seen as a therapist is it often puts the older kid in like a really difficult position where they're given all these responsibilities that they don't really have much guidance on, and then they're left on their own, and they're given and sometimes it's a little inappropriate, because there are times when even like a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, 15-year-old needs guidance. I mean, they do need guidance every day, but there are questions they might have, and they might not have the answers to them. So as a result, the younger kids suffer because they might not be getting the kind of attention they need. The older child might resent their younger siblings and not be as nice as a parent would be.
What happens to them as they are adults?
So often parentified children grow up to be adults who might be angry that they are missing that piece of their lives, and like there are adults who still go to Disney World 3 times a year because they missed that part of their childhood. They didn't get to go to Disney World because they were taking care of their younger siblings, or they didn't get to play with the same kinds of toys at the same stages. So you often see adults who are interested, or even like young adults like 18, 19, who are still really interested in doing little kid things because they missed that part of their own lives and childhood.
Do you have any recommendation to help adults who have been
parentified? I always recommend therapy and seeing someone to talk about what their experience was, so that they can get over some of the negative feelings that they could have and the resentment that they might have towards their parents and their siblings for kind of taking away their time and space to develop who they are. And I would also, are you good? All right.
How does it affect children?
Being parentified.
I can't say
Parentified.
parentified.
How does what affect children being parentified?
What does it look like? What is it like as a child having to be the adult? What does it feel like?
I think that it adds a lot of like stress about things that like for me now as an actual adult, I look back and I'm like I missed out on a lot of like kid stuff that I feel like I was busy worried about bills or working or taking care of my younger sister to where I didn't really get to focus on like actually enjoying my teen years or preteen years and worried about like stupid stuff that kids that age worry about, or like even when my friends would bring me their problems and they'd be like, oh, well, I'm worried about so-and-so saying this about me. And it's like, there are so many more other things going on, and it gave me a lack of sympathy for the people that didn't have to think about all that extra stuff because their parents weren't putting that on them. And that wasn't something that was their responsibility. So I feel like I couldn't always relate to my peers in that way. Yeah, I feel like that is a big part of it. And then again, the stress and anxiety that comes from having all these extra things on your mind that you really can't control. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you can't. While also focusing on school and other stuff that you're supposed to focus on at that age. Is that good?
Do you have any other follow-up questions about that? Or do you agree? Or
I agree.
okay. So then move on to as an adult, because she's an adult.
What happens to them as an adult?
Happened to you as an adult.
To you. Sorry.
Me as an adult, I think, like, I know this sounds silly, but I will say, like, for me now, I think a lot of things I don't stress about as much, but I've also had years of therapy to help me, like, stop worrying so much about the things that I can't control. In terms of my own stuff, when my own financial things come up, it's like, more so I'm like I can handle this because I've been dealing with this kind of stress for so long. But when it comes to like my parents still putting those responsibilities on me and still calling me and saying, oh, I can't afford this, blah blah blah, and asking me for help with their finances, and still putting a lot of responsibility of my sister on me even when they come to visit, that is very stressful, and finding a way to set boundaries with them can be very difficult. So even though I'm out of the house, and I've been out of the house for 4 years, and their stuff isn't really my responsibility anymore, anytime something comes up, I do feel responsible, and I do feel like I have to help out, because at the end of the day, that's my family. And I think that adds an extra level of pressure onto it, because it's one thing when it's like a friend or a stranger, but when it's your family, like you grow up being told like your family is what you have and family is everything, and you know what I mean? So to tell them no, hey, like I can't help you right now, it's really hard to set those boundaries. And then, again, like, I feel like I'm in a different place than a lot of my peers still at this age, where I've been paying bills for so long. Like a lot of other kids that I know have had financial support from their families throughout college and are still being financially supported by their parents, and they work their little 2 days a week and they go to school and they tell me how hard it is. And my last semester of college, I worked 2 full-time jobs and did 19 credit hours in school. So I think that relatability again gets lost for me, because I've been being a parent and being an adult for so long. Like, these are skills that I've had for years and years and years. And I'm like, this isn't hard, I might be exhausted all the time. I think it also puts a lot of added pressure for me. That crave for financial stability is a big part of it, or like perfectionism or always doing 10 million things because I don't know how to slow down and let my body slow down. So I think those all come from being a parent really young or being a parentified adult or child. Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations to help adults who have been parentified?
I think that I know that a lot of different people and different cultures have different opinions about therapy, but I am a strong proponent for it. I've been doing it for, 22? So like 12 years at this point, on and off, of course. But it has helped me a lot with setting boundaries with my family and realizing what's in my control and what isn't, and those bigger stresses that come up, and when the sky does feel like it's falling, what to do in those scenarios. So I think that can be a big help. Just having somebody with an outside perspective to talk to, and therapy is what you put into it, and therapy shopping's a real thing, so making sure you find somebody that fits you. Boundaries are a big deal, and that's something that are hard to learn without somebody's help, but if you feel like you can do it without, good for you. I couldn't do it without, but setting boundaries with those people in your life that do have those extra stressors, it's not always your responsibility to carry what they have going on. I think for me, like, I set my level when it comes to, like, anything that has to do with just my parents. They're adults and they can handle it, and I try and separate that. If it does come across and affect my sister, then I will step in still, because she's my sister and she's still a child and she doesn't deserve that, or to have to deal with those things. So it kind of just depends what you feel like is the best for you in those situations, but I think those are the things that have helped me a lot.
How does it affect children?
Well, from what I experienced, it can be it is very stressful. I developed some mental health issues from it. I was very like of everything that was going on, since I knew everything, like bills, how much everything was and all the struggles, especially because my parent is a single parent. But I developed some mental health issues, I think, basically is mostly what I'm trying to say.
What happens to them as an adult? What happens to you as an adult?
So I just recently turned 18, but I would say, so I know mostly about like growing up like that. Like it makes you very protective of that. Well, it made me very protective of that parent and my sibling, who I took care of basically also, as well as my dad. Well, that's in my case. That's what I think it did to me. Like, just very protective, very, like, I need to know everything that was going on.
Do you have any recommendations to help any adult who have been parentified?
to any adult that's been parentified?
Yeah.
Um, um, mm, I would think probably, talk to someone about what you went through. I think that might help. But, like, what helped me was, I went with a different family, and, it was for the good, I would say. Yeah, very. And now I have, like, people who support me more, so because of that, my mental health has gotten a lot better, a lot better. But I would say, talk to someone or some people, but I don't really know a lot more of, like, they could do.
Hopefully you have a better understanding of what parentification is and how it affects not only children but follows them as adults. Both Haley and Valeria mentioned therapy is helpful, especially setting boundaries. This was supported in my research.